Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. There have been so many tags about homeschooling lately, and so I wanted to go ahead and jump on that tag. And as someone who homeschooled their children last year and has had to move back into the public school setting, I wanted to kind of share with you my experiences and my thoughts. If you guys are joining me for the very first time, my name is Kim Vasquez, and I have a 13-year-old who's going on 14, who is going to be a freshman this year, and then I have a 8.5-year-old who will be a third grader this year. So officially both my kids are now enrolled in public school, and this was kind of one of those things that was bittersweet. It was not a decision, just like the decision to homeschool them was not something that I took lightly and I did research on. Putting them back in public school was not a decision that I took lightly. I looked at every different avenue and possibility to be able to continue to homeschool them. I do feel and believe that me homeschooling my kids was a great decision. I do have different thoughts on the younger versus the older, and I will kind of touch on bases on that and stuff, but I think it just depends on each individual child. So what worked for me may not work for you guys. So what I learned is that, and this was, I also saw another mom talk about, or another homeschool mom talk about this, was that she really questioned herself a lot, especially when we're out and about, or I have a lot of friends who are in education, and or when my daughter's friends would come over, or my son's friends would come over, and I would kind of hear what they were working on, and I would think, oh my gosh, and you know, they're in the same grade, I'd be like, oh my gosh, we're not working on that. Why aren't we working on that? Well, why doesn't this curriculum cover that? And I would question if I was doing a good job or if I was making the right choice, and I just always questioned myself. And hindsight, after because at the very beginning, everything was really great with homeschooling. We had a great schedule. I had plenty of time. I felt I had a decent amount of time to be able to give to my kids to homeschool. But as my school situation changed a little bit and my workload changed with school, so did the amount of time that I was able to contribute and give an attention, or the time and the attention that I was able to give for homeschooling. And so that was a lot of stress. I just really had to be really good with time management, and this also meant that there was things around the house that didn't necessarily get done. And I guess the point I'm trying to get at is that in that time I was in this fog of just getting work done and getting their homeschool stuff done and taking care of things that I needed to get taken care of, but I had no time for myself to just kind of sit and reflect and think about all the good things that were happening. Hindsight, and it really hit me today as I was registering my daughter at the new school, and we were talking about where she started at with reading whenever I homeschooled her, and she had one of those really thin, flimsy, easy read books, which was one of the reasons why I chose to homeschool her. Reading and writing was an area she really did struggle with. So I wanted to be able to give her more one-on-one time and more attention, and there's a lot of resources that public schools have available as far as being able to pull kids and give them that more attention, but she wasn't on that, or as they explained to me, she wasn't low enough to be able to get any type of services. So it was kind of, but she wasn't where she needed to be, which to me baffles me, even as someone who wants to go into the public school system. If the kids aren't where they need to be, we don't wait till they fail. We need to we need to jump in before it becomes that. And yes, it comes as a parent. You need to be hands-on, and you need to be reading with your child if that's where they're having issues with, or doing things with your child like math or whatever they're struggling in. You need to be, as a parent, you need to step in and say, like, let me help you, and get, like, because it's not just the teacher's responsibility. But at the same time, they are in school for 8 hours a day, so sometimes I could see that she was tired, and then they have homework, and then it's like, when do we have time to squeeze in practicing reading even more? She was just tired, and she was just done, and I was tired, and I was done. And so as I was talking to the lady at the register or whatever, and we were talking about how she went from having these like little easy read books that are like only a few pages long, they can knock them out in like a few minutes, and I was like, and she was struggling with those. So I wish I had an example of one of the easy reader books that she had, but I don't have those anymore. But she's now moved on to chapter books and just really enjoying them, and she's reading for enjoyment, which, if nothing else came from this year, for her to be such a strong reader and a confident reader and comprehend what she's reading, it makes me feel very proud that I had a hand in helping that. I feel like I'm gonna go off on a tangent because there's so many things that I want to talk about and address and talk, but I don't want this to be this long drawn out video. But I guess in the midst of my crazy schedule, I didn't sit back and reflect on how much they learned, and as I was going through the curriculum stuff to get it ready to take to the school for them to look at, I was like, wow, we did a lot this year. We learned so much and we did some amazing things. And so one thing some advice I would give to a homeschool parent who may feel like they're struggling, if you look back and if you just take a moment to look back at everything that you've done, and you've done so much, and if you feel honestly that you are doing everything that you can, then you probably are. So that is one tip that is something that I learned, that I wish I would have appreciated more even when it was getting difficult. Something that you also need to be able to do is to be completely honest with yourself and your schedule, as far as being able to homeschool. And it is a job, it is work, and there's going to be days where you love it and there's going to be days where you hate it. And just like within a job, you wouldn't show up late, or you wouldn't take personal phone calls, or you have a schedule. You need to follow that schedule routine, and you need to, when you're homeschooling, that is what your job is. You're focused on that for that time that you are doing it. And so that is really important. You wouldn't take personal phone calls at work. You wouldn't handle bills while you're at work. When you're homeschooling, it is your like undivided attention. Now, as they get older, they may not need as much attention, but you still need to be in a spot where you can help them if they need help. If I could still homeschool him, I think that most likely we would have started high school in a public school setting, just because of what is all involved. And when you're in high school, you have teachers that if they're teaching chemistry, like that's what they're specifically teaching, and that's what they specifically know. And same thing, like if you have like certain reading and writing and things like that. I honestly, if you're thinking about homeschooling and it's really something that you really want to do, then just look at your schedule and be honest with yourself if that is something that you can do. And if it works out in your schedule, then I would do it. I loved homeschooling when my schedule allowed it. My schedule changed, and so homeschooling wasn't an option anymore. I did look at other avenues with different types of like online schools and academies and stuff like that. I had to be honest with myself and assess the quality of time that I was able to give to my child in order to homeschool them the best that I could. And I just didn't see that. But it doesn't mean that I would never homeschool my kids again, or doesn't mean I would never homeschool my youngest. Just in this moment, it is just not feasible for me to continue to homeschool. But you won't know if it's going to work until you try it. Make sure that whatever state you're trying to homeschool in, you're aware of the laws. In the state of Texas, they cannot deny your child the ability to go back to public school. But it is the district's discretion if they want to do a placement test. Or from what I understood when I went to enroll my daughter, her birthday fell on the time to where she was able to, like, she would be a third grader. And so she was able to be a third grader this year. But for my son, because he was going into high school, we had to do a placement test. It is your school's discretion on how they want to do that. Or what a lot of homeschool parents find, if you're trying to go into if you're a junior and their kid wants to have like their senior year experience in a public school, homeschool wise, on curriculum and on paper, they are going to be a senior next year, but is that school's discretion whether they want to use those credits towards their amount of credits that they need for them to be a senior the following year. And sometimes those schools, they don't, even though they might be amazing classes, the schools may not accept those classes, if that makes sense. So you might find that your child is going to be a junior again, and so sometimes parents decide just, we're gonna finish homeschooling. Your high school years are not the time to homeschool first and then go to public school. If you wanted to do public school and then switch to homeschool, it's easier. I don't know if that makes sense, but I saw another video that I will link down below that kind of explained that situation and stuff. But yeah, without going on a tangent, I will have some links down below of information for the state of Texas as far as homeschooling laws and rights and stuff go. So if that's something you're interested in, check it. If that's something you're interested in, check it out. Thank you so much, and I appreciate your support. If you have not done so already, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, comment down below let's use this as an open forum. I am not opposed to having other homeschool moms or even public school moms put in any like videos that they might have down below, or shout out your channel or something like that, because I want, again, I want this to be a forum where if there's questions you have, I don't have all the answers, obviously, and not one person has all the answers, and everybody's situation is different and special to their needs and their family's needs. So but there might be videos or topics that I haven't addressed that other homeschool moms have addressed, or public school moms have addressed, or just even educators can address. So if you have any information or videos that link to anything like this, just go ahead and comment it down below, and I appreciate it, and I will see you guys in the next one.